I don't really believe that there is like someone who actually create everything. If there is like a really like a person on top of like everything and that can actually like manage everything, I would think that some like really bad things wouldn't happen and be empowered to against other people. I think that this is like the the problem. I don't think that we are like we are punished because like two people just like couldn't like live without like the tree on the
Yeah.
on like without the apple on the tree. Usually when I live by, you know, you treat others how you want to you would be treated. But I think that like we are powerful like together. So I think we need more of those people that can inspire others and actually like be unite. If you don't learn from your mistakes, it's like you keep doing it and you don't like you don't grow like as a person. We are not like there is not like black and white, you know, because it's like you don't answer all the questions with yes or no. And I think that you just live and then that's it. I have no idea what it would be like the thing that actually made you go to heaven. I haven't heard about it, like this thing about like Jesus like dying for everyone else. And it's actually like a really nice thing that it could have been done, but it's like it was like so many years ago. Like you don't know what happened. You just like um, you believe in that because someone else told you that
Yeah.
that happened. If it was like so true and so like real, you know, it would come back the same as it was, even in 1,000 years, in 2,000 years.
Just had a conversation, a good conversation with an Italian gentleman. He later told me he's working in the movie industry, so someone who's interested in stories and storytelling. Well, it was a long conversation. I was able to talk to basically present the gospel to him after we spent a bit of while talking about morality and a couple of other topics. Unfortunately, I think he's an atheist, and he I think ultimately said that he believes in the science kind of driving humanity to answers, and then humanity together kind of pulling forward to basically improve ourselves. So kind of maybe a softened version of humanistic worldview that he represented, and didn't, while he listened to me go on about religion and Christian claims and Christian faith, didn't seem like he had too much interest in it. Let's put it that way. Anyway, have a look. Tell me what you thought about this conversation. Is there anything else that you would have said, or any of your opinions on this conversation? And hopefully I'll see you in the next conversation. Thanks, bye. I start with the same question
Okay.
to everyone, and that is,
Yeah.
do you have any faith? Do you have any religion, any philosophy that you live by?
I mean, I don't really believe that there is like someone who actually create everything
Okay.
like over here. I believe that it was like a really nice person that people should like follow, you know? But I don't think like I'm more like on the scientific like side of thing, like, you know, this is what I think at least.
Got it, got it. Has that ever changed for you? Like, was there ever a time in your life where you sort of were a little bit more open to the idea of faith or God even than now, or?
Like there hasn't been like a real like a specific time of change like for me. It's just like a process that I would say that like after the years and everything, after also like everything that it goes on like in the world and everything, I if there is like a really like a person on top of like everything and that can actually like manage everything, I would think that some like really bad things wouldn't happen,
Okay,
if
okay.
that makes sense.
Got it. So,
Yeah.
you're seeing the world around you, see the suffering, you're seeing the chaos that is happening. You're saying, like, if there's someone who's omnipotent,
Yeah.
right? Someone who can do everything, right? They would step in and do something about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially like, yeah, especially for like really bad things like that you can actually see like
Okay.
around. Yeah.
Got it. Like, well, like earthquake, for example, in Turkey that we just had,
Um,
or even worse
I
than
would
that.
say like wars, like everything that also like mankind does. Like
Yeah.
if there is like someone who actually have powers,
Yeah.
like on what's happening, it would be like different. Like I know that earthquakes, like those kind of things, it's not like something that we can control.
Yeah.
It's like something that is going on like with the earth. It's like movement of like it's like the
Tectonic plates.
changes, the tectonic plates and everything. So it's not like something that it's up to us like to control it, but like for what like we actually do, if it would be like someone who can actually like say something about it and it's omnipotent, or it would do like something.
Right. Okay. Let me just take that thought and that idea a little bit further.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, what would be the ideal action that you would expect someone to do, someone with that power, in those situations? So, let's say, the idea of Putin is about to go to war to Ukraine,
Yeah.
and we are now on the other side of that. It's been a year. Would you have expected that someone, with omnipotent powers to stop Putin?
Yeah, like
What is the expectation?
it's not like you actually expect like a person to go there and say like you don't have to do it because it's wrong, but it's like I think several things that happens that make it not like work out, and making like in like change his mind, or like like some things that can prevent those
Okay.
kind of stuff.
So kind of small nudges here and there to
Exactly.
avoid.
That's avoid like the conflict and all like the bad things that are gonna happen. And yeah,
Got it.
especially like
Yeah.
maybe like now with like Putin and everything, but like I would say like in the Second World War it would be like with Hitler and all these kind of things. Even if like I think that we as a human we learn from like those experience, like for it, like if we would say it's I would say even like myself, we learn more when we are struggling than when we are like actually like happy, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I would say like there would be still like a limit of like the suffering and everything. If I would be like someone who has like powers, it would be like I'm not saying that everything should be happy all the time,
Yeah.
but the suffering wouldn't be like so bad as it was, and we don't know.
Got it.
Could
Got
be,
it. So if I understand that correctly, just to kind of replay it back to you, you're saying not
Yeah.
all suffering is wrong. We learn through suffering. Suffering is good. Even educational, for example, like stupid example, maybe putting your hand in the fire will teach you that fires are hot, and
Yeah.
we should avoid
There you go.
avoid them, for example, right? Or pain is wrong. Pain is body telling you that something's wrong with your body. But
Yeah.
you're saying there's certain limit where extraordinary amounts of suffering, such as that happened during wars, massive sort of suffering, whole
Yeah.
nations going against nations. That is something that you would expect if there was someone who could do something about it, that they would step in and somehow make it not happen.
Make it not happen in those like
In those
biggest.
times. Yeah. Would that someone then be accused of interfering too much, or for example, there's this whole sort of and I don't know how much you kind of are into this or not, but like the idea of free will, right? So
Yeah.
I have free will. You would probably agree that you have free will, right? And so if someone prevents me from acting the way I want to act, or someone prevents Hitler from acting the way he wanted to, or Putin the way he wanted to, would that be that someone would be accused of interfering too much, right? Interfering to the extent that that free will is taken from us, and we become to an extent kind of puppets, or someone who's not really fully in control of our destiny, whether for good or for bad.
Yeah. Like this is like really interesting question, because I think that like we have like rules, even like in the society that we are now, we have like rules and everything. So it's just like a matter of like finding the right way to like live together, instead of like I need to show that I'm like stronger than you, because now like I would say like because now like the period of time and the people are like suffering, so I step in and I try like to bring like those people that are suffering with me to make suffer like other people, because I think it's right or wrong. It's that kind of thing that I think it shouldn't happen. You know, I know what you're saying. Like you wouldn't, if you cannot do whatever you want, it would be like against like your free will and everything. But
Yeah.
if you think about it, in like we have like rules. There is like a law. You cannot do certain things because are like bad towards other people. So it would be like something that make those rules respect in like in a bigger picture instead of like on a single kind of basis. Like for like it could be like the law when there is like murders and everything. It's gonna be like for example for the Second World War, it's gonna be something like a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So it's not like something very small. Like it could be like a person committing a bad thing.
Right.
It's gonna be like something big.
Something
But
bigger than that.
I
yeah.
think that we have like laws and everything because like we follow like rules and everything. So I think it should stand with even like a bigger picture instead of like on a single like basis,
Smaller
like
scale,
about
yeah.
like population and everything.
I see. But maybe by that logic, maybe just to play devil's advocate a little bit, by that logic, who knows? Maybe some intervention has happened. Maybe it could have been worse, right? Maybe we could have been at this stage already,
Definitely.
in World War III with nuclear holocaust and nuclear sort of, pollution and other things. Maybe it could have been worse, and maybe the intervention has actually happened so that the war was actually not as long as it could have been, and another war has not yet happened, and maybe there's something that we just we're maybe should be thankful about.
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's right. Like
Yeah.
it could be even it can always be like worse. You know, you don't know like what to expect sometimes when some things happen, and you expect that we learn from our
Yeah.
mistakes, especially like as like mankind. We learn. I would say like it's something that I'm really attached to. It's like it's better to like learn from your mistakes and the mistakes of the other people,
Got it.
because you don't have to go through all the same things that other people go through. You can learn from what other people like mistakes. So it's something that I hope that this like war that is going on in Ukraine and everything, it's not gonna go like further away and like in a third world war and everything, because I expect that we as like mankind, we actually learn from the first and the Second World War and all the other wars that went on and on, even like after those, because it pretty much like never stopped. You
Yeah.
always like heard like Vietnam, and then it was like Syria, and then it's something that we as humans are like, some people are keen on like keep them like alive, and that's, I think that those kind of things I would expect that someone intervenes and actually like say like, you know what,
Yeah.
stop.
I'm with you on that 100%. I wish the let's call them peacemakers, those who are interested in peace, would prevail in this conflict, and that before too long, before it gets out of hand, those peacemakers would be allowed to bring about some sort of a peace. I'm all for it personally. I'm as you may know, I've had experience of war very close in my country. I grew up in it, and my opinion about wars has changed now that I'm much older. Whereas maybe as a younger person, I would have been maybe taking a very clear side and being very, I don't know, enthusiastic about representing my cause. Now I see the futility of wars, of fighting. The more you fight, at the end, whoever wins, not really a lot has changed in the end. There's just a lot of losers, a lot of
exactly,
suffering.
and what you win,
What do
just
you win
like,
exactly in the end? Yeah, and so I'm completely with you on that. But maybe you're hitting upon something quite interesting that I would like to sort of get your opinion on. You sort of said, look, we have so many lessons to learn from in the history, right? The history is full of examples for us to draw on. The First World War, Second World War, even beyond that, going in the past, we can see human history is a history full of kind of conflict and strife and sort of injustices, and what do you think is behind, what is the kind of the root core of the problem? What is the problem of humanity? What is it that causes us, with all of our advances in technology, with all of our education. Now actually we can actually record these lessons for posterity. We can record them in digital format, and there's no excuse anymore. Everyone at their fingertips, they can learn
Yeah.
about World War II and all the lessons, and they can study them. And yet we don't, right? Yet we don't. Yet we continue to do things to each other, even on a small scale, but even in a bigger scale, we hurt one another. How would you describe, what is the problem of humanity? What is the human problem?
That's a really complicated question. I think that it could be maybe because like the society as it for now, it's always like, pointed with like people who like have powers. Like if you have power, you can decide everything. It's pretty much that this is like the message that especially like you can get from like, even if you go like to the internet and everything, even if you are like really young, you can actually see the most powerful people are the one that actually can control. So I think it's that maybe like it gives like people like decided if someone could live or die, gives like power. It's like a sick kind of thing, but just like a matter of like deciding and being empowered to against other people. I think that this is like the problem, that everyone wants to have like power, that everyone wants to have like a lot of money, be successful, like this is like what most of the people are like, it's like the dream, when it's more like on being like powerful instead of like being like finding the thing that makes you happy instead. It's not like about some, like most people try like to like as much to learn like to earn like money, a lot more money, is because you think that you're gonna like feel better, but scientifically it's not gonna work out in the long term.
Yeah.
Immediately you feel satisfied, of
Yes,
course,
yeah.
because you can buy whatever you want. When you wake up, you just want to do a thing and you do it. But on the long term, it's like something that when you look back, you had it at the time, then you get bored and then you find another thing to want. It's more like a material kind of thing instead of like being like happy and know what you want to have, and instead of like what you think you want.
No,
So I think like I went like somewhere else with the answer, but yeah, I would say like right now, I would say that people want powers. Like a lot of people want to like be on top and commanding other people and everything, when I think it's not like where the thing is supposed to be. Like you should like find really what you want, like what you like, instead of like trying to be like powerful against like other, and then think you can do whatever you want when.
No, I think that's actually very perceptive. I would actually agree with you. Now, because this is kind of an interview about kind of faith and religion, now I would introduce the idea of what you just described as idea of sin. I don't know whether you would agree or not, but from a kind of being a Christian, right, and from a Christian perspective, what you just said almost exactly describes the idea of sinfulness. Going from, and I don't know how much you know the stories from the Bible, right, but from the very beginning in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, the first human couple, the story goes that they had everything. They had everything except they couldn't do one thing, right, which was one tree in the garden was off limits for them, but they could do everything else, and there was nothing that they lacked. They had everything, peace, happiness, food, nothing was lacking, but they just couldn't do that one tree, right? And so ultimately they were deceived by the serpent, and they decided to eat from that tree, even though God clearly told them not to do that, right? And so that, in the Christian worldview, that's an expression of human beings wanting to have power, right? Because power is withheld from them. It's kind of, as soon as you put some limits around, they're saying, oh, okay, so now you don't want me to do that. Now actually I will go for exactly that you don't want me to do, because the serpent told them this story that if you eat from that tree, then you will be like God, you will be like God, right? And what better thing for human being to be than like God, right? And so the story of humanity, right, is the very idea of us wanting to have power, even the power to be God-like. But that obviously God heard and learned about that, and then the fall happens. We get kicked. The humanity gets kicked out of the garden into this earth, and then the world is cursed by God because the getting the food out of the soil becomes so hard. Relationships get muddled up and broken. That's where we get now the sense of power against one another, and the sin kind of plays itself out in this fallen world, which we're still living in. This is not heaven here. This is a fallen world, and fallen in so many different ways, right? And so this idea of sin, right, is that idea of striving for power that is not ours to have, that is not ours to be given to, right? What do you think about that idea? I know I kind of just went a little bit theological, a little bit religious, but I think it's interesting because I think you brought up this idea of power. What do you think about that idea of sin?
Well, of the idea of like we are living like in a kind of like hell kind of thing.
Well, not hell
because
could be
it's
much worse. Hell could be much worse. It's just
Yeah,
it's a fallen world, meaning it's not heaven. It's not certainly not hell.
But
hell could be worse.
It's like I don't think that like for what I think, I'm gonna tell you like that like this like earth and everything happened like for a lot of like things that went right I mean I'm not like a scientist, so I cannot like tell you exactly what was going on and everything, but for what we are learning, even like in other planets that are in the same like solar system and everything, we started like learning that even like other planets, when pretty much they have like pretty much like the same like evolution in the planets. Like there are like some planets like Mars that they are supposed to have like water in the very like so millions of years ago, but they are supposed to have like water, so they are thinking that you live like life could ever be impossible even in Mars and in other solar systems. So I don't you could say like maybe Earth got chosen between like all the other things, but it's like more like something that I think that for what actually it's being created, like for the universe and everything, it's like going on pretty much like not in every planet, but in some, because we don't know, it's like so vast the universe that we can actually know, but it's something that can happen even like in other parts of like the universe. It's so big we don't even know if there could be like life in another planets like millions of like light years like from here, so this is kind of like my take. I don't know if I answer like your question
to an extent, so carry on, because I think you're kind of building up to the main point.
It's like I don't think that we are like we are punished because like two people just like couldn't like live without like the tree like without the apple on the tree, and I don't think it wouldn't be even something fair to us that we actually pay for what other people do, like because other people are bad and we actually like pay them to pay for it. It should be like something that it's up to you as a person. It's not like because I would say like it's not because like your father was a murderer that you are a murderer, and you have to be treated like a murderer. You are like another person. You could be like totally different. You could be like another. So I don't think it's fair to actually like treat everyone at the same. It's like it would be not like racism, but it's like putting like a label on top of like the person, and just like when a new baby comes, you put the same label. It was like how it was like in the past, who was like who was born as a farmer. It was supposed to be a farmer. That's it.
Got it.
So you are like you cannot. It's not even you decide. Okay, I want to be something, or it's not something that you decide. Even when you like the city where you were born, it's not something that you decide, or the context that you are in. I would say like it's you as a person that decide who you want to be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that you are like the son of
Sure.
like a farmer, so you have to be a farmer.
Yeah.
You know?
And I would agree with you. I guess what I, with that story, I think even the I guess some Christians might say, look, or maybe the idea of original sin, and that sin is the punishment that we're all now sort of suffering from. I would look at it slightly differently. I would say the idea of Adam and Eve and what they've done in the garden is not that we're so much suffering because of what they've done, even though to an extent you could argue that okay, they've been kicked out of the garden, and so all of their descendants are now living not in the garden but somewhere else without their choice. But I think much more importantly, I think the point is that we are made in the likeness of Adam, meaning that we are coming with the same desires, with the same propensities, with the same ideas as Adam, regardless if he was our father or not. It's just the fact that we are human. So this is a problem of humanity. Just maybe to give another illustration, there was I don't know if you heard of a person called G.K. Chesterton. He was sort of a writer and a philosopher of the 20th century, I believe. And there was a contest one time on the radio for people to submit, what they think was the problem with the world. And people came up with all sorts of reasons. People say, lack of education. People are just not nice enough to each other, and we could just get different ideas. But this guy, he also was a Christian, right? And he submitted a very short answer to the question of what is wrong with this world. He just wrote his answer was, I am, right? Which was perspective, right? In the sense that he recognized that the problem is not out there, the problem is in his heart, right? Because the same idea, desires for power, desire to having myself and being number one, right? However that plays out, whether it's having power or whether it's having the last meal if one is available, or whatever it is that I think I deserve, that would make me happy, or that I, like you said, whatever my idea of happiness is, that is what's behind the idea of sin, and that is what's behind ultimately wrong between humanity in the world, right? And that he's saying, look, that started with Adam and Eve, but it's as much as our problem as it was theirs. So no one is sitting here or blaming everything on Adam and Eve and saying, if only they didn't do that, if only they didn't screw it up so royally, we could have been enjoying a much better life. No, it's kind of like, no, actually we are all the same. We are all the same, and we have the same problem within our hearts. That was, I think,
that's a really good thing, because it's like you are thinking about how you are, and the first step of like resolving stuff, it's like understanding yourself. So if you know that you have something that is going on that is not right, that you can just like telling these things, it makes like so much difference. Like you can find like so many people that think that they don't do like a self-inspection, because like the first thing it comes to you, and then you can expect like someone else, like I really like, I usually when I live by, you treat others how you want you would be treated with.
That's Jesus'
from them.
statement. Yeah, actually that was he
it's
said.
Like,
it's a golden rule.
It's so I believe that there is like good outside. There was like some really nice people who were just like wanted to actually express like love to other people and everything. But I think it's also right to like try to spread in the world like kindness. And I'm not like saying that I am against like Christian and everything. I like the concept, like what like Christians live by, like be nice with people and everything. But you actually have like to take like action and be nice with people and everything. And it's just, I don't think it's like it comes to you be nice with other person instead of like you be nice because another person did. It's like it's something that have come from you. You learn, within, you see like that people, that person that is actually good, without saying like, okay, I wanna do the same, and then you start like doing the same. I'm totally like agree with that, and I'm first one who does it. Like actually, like I try to be as good as I can with other people, because you don't know what's going on in the other person that you're talking to. You know,
Yeah.
it could be something that you are not thinking about. So I'm really keen on this kind of like way of thinking. But yeah, like maybe I started like talking about like something else, but yeah, this is like how what I think, like mostly. I don't know if I answered your question, because I started like digressing.
No, I think I understood what you were saying. I think
Yeah.
if I sort of played back to you, you're saying, look, the change starts with ourselves, right? It starts from within. You know, if you want to see the change in the world, you know, we have to look at ourselves and work within
and
ourselves.
how we can change,
and
like
exactly,
what's around us.
around us, and then the more and more people do that, you know, you would see that play out on a larger scale, presumably, right? But I guess, and I fully, I'm supportive of that. And you use the, you know, I said the golden rule, which is the, you know, even Jesus said, "Do unto others as you would wish them to do unto you." No one's going to argue against that, and not just Christianity, but I think that is a maxim that is followed by almost all the major religions of this world. They're all, in some sense, advocating for human flourishing, human improvement. That is not disputed at all. My challenge, or the challenge, would then be: do we think that do we think our solution is possible to bring about, right? That change that we desire within ourselves. Are we kidding ourselves that we're going to be able to bring it about? And again, I mentioned before, you know, the example of history. You know, this idea of yours, which very noble. You're not the first one to come up with it. You know, how many great personalities were, you know, the Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa and many other persons. You know, they were great, not just thinkers, but they were doers. They showed us how things to be done. And yet, you know, we're where we are. We're still here. So I guess my question is: do we think that is a realistic solution? Is that, or maybe are you saying that that is the only solution? You're not looking to solve the world necessarily. You're looking to look at yourself as an individual, and that's as far as you can take things.
Okay, that's interesting. So like, the thing is, like, you can do, like, I would support, like, if you can like help other people and everything, but you cannot like go like you to Putin and say like war, it's bad. You cannot go to war.
Yeah.
Because it's like something that it's not allowed, because like that person is even like powerful and everything. I think what you can do is decide what you want to do. Like if Putin wants to go to war and everyone in Russia said like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Those are like my neighbors. I have family there. Why would I go to war with Ukraine where I have part of my family there? If everyone said no, at that point, what Putin can you do? Go to war himself?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
He can do that if he wants, but you know, like how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
If everyone start like thinking about themselves, it's more powerful than actually like go and try to make someone else like everyone. If it's like everyone think the same, you have so much power. I guess, and you can see it from like even like from history, like in France when they ran and everything. If the population doesn't agree with the most powerful people, it can change things.
It can change things. Yes. And then sometimes even in the past, right? You could say, and this might be controversial to say, but the reason Hitler was so successful, quote unquote, or so long in power was to some extent because maybe not enough people have tried to stop him.
Yeah,
maybe.
And also
maybe.
the people were like coming from the First World War, so like Germany was like really low. It was poor. Right. It was like a really bad time. So Hitler kind of like used those kind of things to like promise to the people like more like richness, you know, like to be like from doing this kind of, and he kind of like guide like all the population behind him, and then it happened what happened like after, unfortunately. But I think that like we are powerful like together. So if we decide that something is wrong, and we actually have like because it's also like thankfully like those people like Gandhi, like Maria Teresa, that they actually step in and say no anyway. So other people find like the courage to actually go behind and say no as well. They are like inspirational. So I think we need more of those people that can inspire others and actually like be unite instead of like doing like wars and like, or just like do something because someone that has more power tell you to do that.
Okay, no, that's fair. So if this is kind of that let's say that's maybe the secular solution, as a humanist solution, right? Is this what you just described? We just need to look upon the models. Well, first try to be models ourselves to the society, and then look upon the other models to be inspired by in terms of doing good within the society. I guess I don't disagree with that at all. I think there's many good success stories here in, in history as well.
Definitely. You talk about the bad things because are the one that's like sticks a little bit like out from like other stuff. It's just like we actually, this is why I told you, like we learn from the bad things that happen to us instead of like, I mean, we still learn even like if something good happens, but it's like a balance, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right there. What about this, right? So maybe just to start again, take that idea further. Maybe you would agree, right? Even someone who's let's say doing good, even someone like Mother Teresa, even someone like Gandhi, even someone like maybe many other, maybe they've had periods of their life where they're not so proud of that. You know, you hear so many stories about people who have changed their lives. You know, I used to, not me, but some person might say, I used to be an addict, I used to be a murderer, I used to be this, that, and the other, and then they were changed, right? And they're no longer doing that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And now they've given their life over to doing good. How do we think on balance with such cases, right? Or maybe the question is, do you agree that everyone is, even the best person that you can think of, even the Pope or whoever the ideal sort of in your mind is, ultimately we all and they likewise have something bad that they've done, something they're not proud of, something that they would be characterized as sin. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, like there is like depends on like on the levels of like how bad things have been done. Like, you know, it's still like you're not like we are not perfect.
Yeah.
We are not like perfect, as I said.
Yes, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so it's everyone in their little, even if you don't know. Sometimes make something that probably it's like bad, or it was like a bad decision, or it was like maybe you haven't thought about it like in the proper way and everything. So we are not perfect, so we are allowed to do like mistakes. Otherwise it wouldn't be like a free will, you know. You couldn't do like what you do. You make mistakes, and then but the important thing is about it, like you learn from those mistakes. It's like the learning process. If you have like a learning process of, okay, I did these things and I understand that it's wrong because I asked to people, even if I don't know, I asked to people and I found out that it's not like a good thing to do. So I learn. So I say like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm gonna do something else, you know, that I know it could be like better.
Yeah.
It would be more like this. It's like the process of learning from your mistakes.
Got it. And
if you don't learn from your mistakes, it's like you keep doing it, and you don't grow like as a person. You know, like we are not like we were like at 18s or 10s or like even like 5 years ago. We are always like changing.
Yeah.
And if you don't see like the process of like changing, that means that I think like you are not like learning from what you're doing. You just like keep doing the same things all over again.
Yeah.
So I think it's like those kind of people learn from their mistakes and actually understood what for them was the good way to do stuff.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with that question, and that is, you talk about learning processes. Sometimes we can imagine, as I think of the example you brought up, is someone tells you that you've hurt them, right? And that's obvious, right? Because if I hurt my wife and she tells me, you know what, that thing you said or that thing you failed to do, that really hurt me. I'm like, okay, I have to take her words and her feelings seriously because I need to learn from them, right? So that's the obvious obvious learning point.
Yeah.
Things are not obviously so every single time, and sometimes we even unfortunately have to hurt people in order to bring about the greater good, either for themselves or for some other thing, right? Maybe because they're mistaken, maybe because they're mistaken, or maybe just circumstances, right? Sometimes the really stupid and obvious example is if your house was on fire and I was passing by the road and I saw your house was on fire and you were just sleeping, and I banging on the door and you don't know what's going. You're like, just leave me alone, don't bother me. It's night. I'm sleeping. Go away. I'll knock down your door down. I'll grab you from your bed. You might start maybe fight me or whatever because you thought I'm a burglar or something.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to get you out of the home, right? I'm trying
Yeah.
to save you, right? So that's an example of where we need to maybe be aggressive with someone or hurt them even to bring about the greater good, right? I guess my question is, things are not always so simple, things are not always so black and white, and my question is, other than the society and one another, do you think that there's this idea of absolute morality, or someone who's an absolute morality giver or standard, right? So in religion or Christianity, that would be God, right? So if I'm confused, if I want to know what is the right course of action here, right? Do I do X or Y? Because it's kind of confusing, and some people are saying this is the right thing. No, other people are saying no, this is the other thing is the right thing. I'm confused.
Yeah.
Is there an absolute? Is there a standard? Christianity would say, you look to Scripture, you look to God. God is the absolute morality giver. He's decided what is right or wrong for us. He is the ultimate decision maker. He's the judge, ultimately. How would you kind of answer that? Is that feasible to you? Is that some would you ever turn and think like that, or how do you solve morality dilemmas?
Okay, so like morality, like if there is like someone who we actually have to live by, and there is like an absolute thing. It's not like a way of like seeing something. It's just like one thing that is absolutely like the right way to do stuff.
Well, yeah, or how do you make decisions? To take another maybe very controversial example. I know this could be quite controversial, but the topic of abortion, right, is a big topic, right? And people are divided down the middle, right?
Yeah.
Some people say, look, the question of abortion is a question of female, women's freedom to choose.
Yeah.
Other people say, what are you talking about? You're killing a human life. It's kind of 50-50, right? And people say, no, I believe like this. No, others say, I believe like this. What is the ultimate kind of standard by which we decide?
That's a really hard question, because I think that it's everyone is different. You don't know, like everyone experiences life differently, and I think that it's like if you know that you cannot like give everything to the other, like talking about like the abortion and everything, it's like you should like it's like a really, you're right, you're like killing another human being and you're saying like all this kind of thing, but imagine if that human being would be in the condition that he would like born and live, if the mother think, I mean, it's not like something that I'm young so I'm gonna do it because I want to be like I want to be like this. There are like different, there is not like a good like a yes or no. We are not like, there is not like black and white, because it's like you don't answer all the questions with yes or no. We have like something for some stuff, yes, but we actually have like other like colors in between those black and white. Otherwise we would see everything black and white. It would be yes no every time. We have like different, because we can think. If we were an animal, we have like brain and everything, but we are not like, we don't have like the human brain when you can actually see stuff differently, so it's not like it's one way or the other. You have like other stuff in between. So I don't think there is like I think that has to be done, like, because even if you want to do like good for the other person, maybe doing like you think you are doing good for the other person, but in reality maybe you're not making as good as you think you are doing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
It's like something that I cannot tell you like which is the right way to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because it depends on like so much different things, and you are another person and I'm another person. I think in one way, you're thinking like in another way. So it's not like I can put my shoes in your. I can say like, you look, for what I am, I would like do this, and that. But I'm not like telling you this is the right way. I would say like, for what I am, I would do this, but it's up to you, because you are like you have power yourself, and you can do what you want to do. So I don't think there is like. I appreciate that people like live by a person who did good to other people, but I don't think it's black and white. There is like other stuff in between.
Sure, things are. I agree. It's very complicated, and these topics, right? These problems are still being debated. And I appreciate
exactly.
that. I guess maybe the kind of where that question then goes on to next is that do you sort of see kind of the idea of a judgment, you know, because again Christianity would say, look, at the end of our lives we're going to be facing a judge, right? And God, right, he will take a look at our lives and how we've lived, and you know our verdict, right, is going to be given to us based on what we've done. And if we're honest with ourselves, you know, there'll be, you know, if speaking personally, if my life was a movie and for everyone to see, I'll censor some parts of that life because I would not want someone or anyone, certain parts of my life that to be shown to anyone, because I'm just ashamed, right? And I know
everyone has it.
Things that I've done, right? And if I know, certainly God knows what I've done, and what I know that He will not be pleased with, right? Do you think this idea of a judgment, of a judge at the end of our lives, you know, I know you said you don't necessarily believe in God, but do you think that idea of a judgment is a fair one? You know, is that do you understand that? Do you just sort of look and say, no, everyone's kind of gonna live or die by their own kind of life. At the end of the life, really, there's nothing that follows. No sort of judgment, no sort of review.
Yeah, I'm more like on the kind of way. I think that you just live and then that's it. Like it's not like you're gonna have like something else after. You just like live. It's like a gift that you have been given. Just live your life as best as you can. Do like what you like to do, and then that's it. Like I don't believe that like after when you're dead, it would be like there would be like someone who said, okay, you are going like to a nice place because you were a nice person, or like because like even like sometimes if you think about like bad people, like murderers, are born in like really bad states, so it's not even their fault that they became murderers. It's just because they lived in like in conditions that made them react to things differently from like the other people. So it's how you can like go to a person, okay, you were a murderer, but you were abused when you were a kid. You know, you like people did bad to you. So why would I send you to hell because another person like kind of like created you like this? It's not like that person. It's, I mean, I know that there could be like some brain damage and everything, like, and that maybe would have happened anyway, even if he was raised in a very nice and cozy environment and everything.
Exactly.
But I think that it would be like it's so hard. It would. I think it would be like it would be a nightmare. It might like judge every single one. I don't think it would. I mean, if I were God, I wouldn't want to do that. Like how you can like, because you don't you haven't experienced. If you can experience every single life, then it could be like something that maybe, but it's still like you are a person. You know, it's just a matter of you decide who like goes to heaven and who goes to hell. But it's like sometimes they are, you know, it's not up to them. It's like how they actually grew up and everything. So it would be like really hard to actually do that.
I can see kind of that challenge, right? What gives me comfort, right, is that, you know, as a believer, is that I know that God is fair, right? So even those circumstances that you brought up, you know, someone just being brought up and even doing things without even knowing that it's wrong, right? Because they were product of their environment, and they just kind of got. I think all of that will be taken into account, right? So, you know, I think there's this, you know, Bible verses that speak to the fact that our conscience is a key factor. So the things that we know that we do wrong knowingly are the things that are really going to be that are going to matter. Things that we do with lesser knowledge or without knowing at all, I mean, that is going to be, you know, that's not going to weigh in that scale, in that regard, right? So knowing that God is fair and that no one, you know, I believe that no one's going to be, if there is a judgment, which I know we disagree on, but to me, if there is a judgment, no one's going to be there and saying, God, that's not fair. That's not going to happen, because everyone's going to say, look, yes, you judged correctly. Now, obviously, I would like to be sent to heaven than hell, but you know, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? But no one's going to say, look, you know, this was a wrong decision. I know I don't want to take too much of your time, but just kind of to probe maybe this last kind of couple of questions in that same regard. And I don't know how much you know about Christianity and how much you have maybe in your upbringing, especially being Italy's very Roman Catholic country. Maybe you have family members, or maybe you've been church before, all that kind of stuff. But I guess the question is, what did God do? What did God do so that guilty sinners like myself, or like pretty much anyone else in the world, would not go to hell for the things that we know that we've done wrong? God did something amazing. Like, do you know that, or do you kind of, have you heard about that? Just wanted to kind of see.
Like, what do you say? Can you repeat, please? Because
so at the moment I've established the fact that people are sinners. Myself, I'm a sinner, and
like everyone,
like everyone else. And there are things that I've knowingly sinned, and there are things that I didn't even know I've sinned. But hopefully God is fair, and if I die and I appear before the righteous judge, you know, he has all the rights to send me to hell for the things that I've done. But that's not the end of the story, right? If that was the end of the story, that would be a pretty
everyone
bleak.
goes
Pretty bleak. Everyone goes to hell. Like, what is the point? Where is hope? What is hope, right? So my question is, God did something, and that's not the end of the story, luckily, right? In Christianity, that's not the end of the story. God did something to give hope, to give hope of eternal life, hope of heaven, right? Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what it would be, like the thing that actually made you go to heaven, you know, like the answer of that. No one knows. But I think it's just like a matter of, you know, if you are not that person, just don't pretend to be, you know. It's like if you're not able to think like what's good and treat like other person good, just don't pretend like to actually be a person who does it just because you know that if you're gonna do it, you're going to have it, you know.
Right. The hypocrites.
It would be like something, when it's good for me, I'm doing it. When I'm losing stuff that is happening, when I'm losing things, then no, I have to think about myself. It's so probably it's that, you know, like being kind, whatever happens to you. It could probably be like one of the things. Like, it doesn't matter if you are hurting yourself, but you try like to be nice to the other person anyway. That maybe could be one of the things. I'm not sure, because I don't know what's like the secret answer to that question. Exactly.
Well, let me explain to you. And we're really keen to see what your thoughts are on that. You probably did hear it. It's just that you haven't necessarily connected to the topic that I'm talking about, right? So the Christian story again is that we are sinners. We deserve hell for what we've done. Let me introduce one more thing before I get to the answer. Is that another thing that God said in the Bible was that the wages of sin. So the wages meaning what is due to us, what we deserve. The wages of sin is death. He said the ultimate punishment for sin is death, right? Hell being the kind of eternal death, kind of the ultimate, right? What we call the second death. Everyone's going to die on this world, but there's going to be a second death, which is hell. Now, so what is the solution? What God knows that we are pretty desperate and pretty miserable set of people, that we cannot help ourselves, right? For all the reasons that we just discussed, right? Knowing that, God provided a solution in the fact that He sent His Son, Jesus, right? He sent His Son Jesus 2,000 years ago to die, right? And people know the story. People celebrate Easter. We're going to have Easter in a couple of months here and celebrate it as well as in Italy, right? The fact that Jesus, the Son of God, died, people understand that. People understand the cross, but people don't understand how that cross relates to what we're talking about now, their sin, right? The fact is that for the punishment for sin is death, but if someone dies on your behalf, then they've paid your punishment, right? So just to spell it out, right? So the idea is that Jesus, having died on the cross, He died for all the sinners in the world. And all He's saying, look, if you trust in me, if you have faith in me, that punishment that you deserve has been paid for by me on the cross. So that, me as a Christian, right, if I appear before the judgment seat of the Almighty, right, and He asks me, okay, give me your case, what's your story, tell me why I shouldn't send you to hell, my answer as a believer would be, look, God, not what I've done. I know I've done some good as well, but you know all the bad things that I've done. But you said, God, you've sent your Son to die on the cross for me. I appeal to the death of your Son on the cross as a punishment for my sins. And as a believer who believes in that and who's lived their life in accordance with that truth and tried my best to follow in His footsteps, in His ways, in His teachings, not perfectly, but the best way I knew how, that's what my appeal is for, right? And He promises that those who are faithful, those who have believed in and who have put their trust on the cross, on His Son, they will be considered pure, like He was pure, right? So He gives us His pure nature. Jesus never sinned, but He was like a lamb sent to the slaughter, like a lamb without blemish. He was a sacrifice, but He never sinned. He gives me His pure nature. I give Him my dirty nature. He takes it on Himself. He's punished for it. He's on the cross. He dies with my dirty nature, and I'm living with His pure nature. That is the good news, right? That is what we call the gospel. That is the good news in the way by which I can claim and I can have a hope of eternal life in heaven and not of misery in hell. And it doesn't give me license not to do whatever I want in the world and just go be the kind of sinner. That's the next thing, right? So what are you saying?
Exactly.
You're saying that this is a magical potion and you just kind of do whatever. Well, no, because if those who fully trust and believe in Jesus in this way, their life would be changed by that belief to the extent that you wouldn't want to be a hypocrite and continuously crucify with your sin, continuously send more sin on that cross so that He can be completely more and more punished for you. In thanksgiving, you want to change your life and live a life for the reason He died for. He died for me so that I would have a better life, so that I have a life that He taught me to have. So I will follow Him, loving my neighbor, loving even my enemy, doing to others as I would wish them to do unto me. But not doing so to earn my way into salvation. That salvation has happened already. It's in response to it. It's in response to it. Like with my wife, I buy my wife flowers for Valentine's Day or whatever it is, just not to earn her love. She's my wife. I don't have to earn her love, but because we are married, because I love her so much, I want to give her gifts. I want to continue to bless her in every way, right? Because I'm thankful that she's my wife, that she loves me. So that's the more of the relationship, right, that we want to continue to have. So I went on rambling maybe a little bit longer.
No worries.
I wanted to understand have you heard that before? Have you heard that? That's what we call the good news or the gospel, right? Have you heard that part about Christianity?
Yeah, I haven't heard about it, like this thing about like Jesus like dying for everyone else, and it's actually like a really nice thing that it could have been done, but it's like it was like so many years ago. It, like you don't know what happened, you just like you believe in that because someone else told you that happened. Like if you take like all the books on religions and in science book, and you burn them, every single one, so that in 1,000 years, or the scientific side, it would be like proven, because everyone is gonna like go through all the things that already been, because it's been proved. It's something that they are like mathematics and everything that is proved. So everything is gonna come back the same. But if you took like all the religious books and you burn them, so no one in 1,000 years, that thing, it could be totally different. It could be like something else someone ever heard, something that it was like different from you, and even like who is writing the thing, it would make like so much difference from that. This is like, if it was like so true and so like real, you know, it would come back the same as it was, even in 1,000 years, in 2,000 years. So this is like the main thing that I think, you know, it's like kind of like that. So you wouldn't know that one person like died for you. So probably in 1,000 years you would do like the worst thing, you know, because it's just like something that someone told you. That it's not like something that it's, you know, that it's like you experience it, like you know that it's like it's like the same. If it was like something that it was recurrent, you know, every, I don't know, like 1,000 years, every like 500 years, I don't know, this happened to make you remember that your debt is being paid for that person that has like to die for everyone else, and he do like a good thing to others every 1,000 years, every 500 years, then I would say to you, okay, that's fair. Like it's something that it's always like it happens. It's not like something that you just choose one person every 1,000 years, you just sacrifice because you think it's right. It's not like that. It's, you know, it's kind of like it.
I think I understand what you're saying. Just again to play it back to you, saying that with things like mathematics, with things like science, there are hard facts that even if all the world knowledge was lost and humanity started from point one, would be rediscovered at some point, because they're just there.
Rediscovered like the same,
right?
as they are right now. Yeah.
Whereas you're saying with religion, you know, there's, first of all, there's multiple religions. They're saying different things, and then if the same thing were to happen when it was, let's say, religion was recreated, it would be a different religion. It would be something different. It wouldn't be the same anymore. Exactly. That is possible. That is, you know, I grant you that is a possible thing. I guess where I would maybe just challenge or push back a little bit is that history, right? Obviously, religions make different claims. I would say, having studied Christianity a little bit, historical sort of facts around it, and not just from the Bible, but, you know, archaeology and other writers who are not Christians, provide a pretty compelling argument for the fact that Jesus was a real person. Even many of the scholars that are not Christian, who are atheists, they would say, look, there's no argument that Jesus existed. Where they would debate or they would disagree with as, was he who he said he was, and did he do all the things that he said he did? But the other thing I would say is that, you know, I think the proof of Christianity will be in the fact that, you know, there's certain prophecies, there's certain predictions that the Bible is making that, from what I can see, I think are being fulfilled, and that is that the world, the way it is right now, is not going to get better, unfortunately, but it's going to continue to be worse in a more moral sense. Worse, right? There's a moral degradation that is going to continue to happen in this world, to the extent that the moral fabric, the more people disattach themselves from the idea of God, and the more they try to create their own morality, we're going to find the moral fabric of the societies are going to be starting to tear apart. And then I think that is kind of what we're starting to experience these days. But ultimately, that's going to lead into greater and greater problems in the world. You know, more wars, more injustices, more of those
climate
things.
change.
Well, even the climate change and other things, ultimately leading to a culmination, what we call the Judgment Day, what we call the end of days, right? Where Jesus said, "I will come again." At that point, I will come again, but that will be the day of judgment, right? So there's no more, there's no purgatory, there's no chance for, let's do it again, Earth 2.0 or something like that. That is the when the chances are finished and that is done, and that He is going to come and usher in a new creation, new world, right? In which case He will, the earth will be renewed, recreated, heaven will come down to earth, and that for those who are with Him in heaven, right? Then there will be no more suffering, there will be no more pain, no more death, right? That is so. In the Christian point of view, I appreciate what you say, and I think theoretical, and I can conceive of in my mind of that scenario, hypothetical scenario.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing in the Bible and the arc of history, the way it's developing, to me, it has a clear beginning and an end point. And it's very unlikely that we would forget. People have often declared death upon religion, and they say, "Oh, what are you talking about? There's less of you." The more science advances, the less and less people are religious. The less and less people find solace in things like religion because they know the truth and answer in science. But that's been done for centuries now, that words, and people are still feeling a hole in their heart. Even scientists, right? Many scientists who are, my background is in science, right? And I would say I'm very able to reconcile my scientific pursuit with my faith, and many other scientists do as well, because they don't see the science being able to explain some of the most important questions in life, and that is the question of why. Why do we exist? What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of fulfillment? And what is the purpose of happiness? What is the ultimate answer for morality, the good and bad? Where do we come? Where are those things coming from? Who defines them? Those are the kind of questions that I think. It's not that science is not able to answer them. It's not that science doesn't have an answer for them. It's just that science is not equipped to answer them. How do you test? How do you create a test for happiness? You don't, right? There's no scientific. You just ask me, "Hey, are you happy?" And I'm say, "Yes, today. Tomorrow, I'm not happy," right? So, am I happy or not happy, right? So there are things that the science is in the field of material, in the field of measurable, in the field of observable, but the world is not fully measurable, fully observable, fully testable. That's not the world that we live in. I think we are spiritual beings. We are emotional beings, spiritual beings. We are conscious beings, and the science, I think, is not ever even wants to go into those fields, right? Because there's no way for it to come up with those answers.
It's like it's even harder, I would say. Like if you have to prove like that, you can find like so many mathematicians that spend their entire lives to demonstrate some stuff by numbers and by everything, and they end up probably like succeeding, but like in 50 years and everything. So it's more like you are trying to find like an answer. It's just it's curiosity,
Yeah.
It's like you are curious what makes you happy. It's even when you do like everything in your life, you do it because you are curious. When you are a child, you want to do everything because you are curious about like, this is nice, this I don't like that, because it's that how you learn like how you are, like the person you are.
Experiential, yeah.
It's like the experience that you do and what you do that makes you singular between like other people. So it's not like, maybe like right now science doesn't have all the answers that people want, because like happiness, as you were telling me, like everyone is different. So for me, happiness could be one thing. If you ask what's happiness to another people, it's like the 1 million like answer, like what's happiness. It's different for everyone. It's in happiness, I believe it's not even like when you are actually happy. It's happiness, it's just like a sense of calm. When you are calm, that's like when you are really like happy. It's not like the moment where you just bought the new car and say like, "Oh yeah, I'm happy because I bought a new car." It's not that makes you happy. It's just like adrenaline that makes you happy because you did something for yourself. But it's not like being happy. It's not like, imagine like it would be a nightmare being all like every day like super happy because you do like a thing. Like I wouldn't be exactly. Exactly. So it's not. I don't think that happiness is what people think it is. It's more like about like, okay, you find like peace and calm. You can actually like you don't you think you don't think of what you want to have, that you don't
Yeah.
have to be happy. It's just like you can live with the things you have, and you don't need like more money to be
Yeah.
happier.
Yeah. Someone quite
It's
wise,
overlooked.
yeah, someone quite wise that I've listened to recently, their podcast recently, I think kind of nailed it in my mind, is saying happiness is not something that you aim for. Like a target, right? If you hit the center of that target, that's the happiness, and that no, happiness is a product of something else, right? So it's a product of circumstances in your life, or let's say you do buy that car, it produces that happiness maybe shortly, momentarily,
Exactly.
right? Or maybe something more longer lasting, such as happiness that results from being in a family that cares and loves for one another. Or even poor people, right? They're some of the happiest people because they don't have worries in their life that some of the richness and the Western advanced society sort of creates. So you have less
Yeah.
worries equals more. So it's kind of like the happiness is a product rather than an object for us to aim for. So that's one thing that
It's like a balance,
Yeah.
you know. It's not like always like happy and excited
Yeah.
and not like sad, because it's like a balance. When you
Yeah.
have like a nice balance between the two,
yeah
I think that it's really what makes us happy. Because like you can be happy for whatever you want, but like it's like just like something that happens in the moment. You feel you are happy, but then on the long run,
yeah
what happens to you? It did really that thing made you happy?
Yeah.
Like you are now, you enjoy what you're doing and everything. That so then you say, okay, that thing that I was happy for, that made me happy.
yeah
But it's not like that thing that made you happy. It's what happened after
right
that thing that made you happy.
yeah yeah
So
I see
it's
that.
and it's not even like I think it's God. Maybe he know. I don't know if he knows every single each one of human being what happiness is for each one of us. It would be like I don't think it would be like something really like insane. We are like billions of people. How we can know have an answer for that? You know?
Yeah. Well, interesting. I mean, the Bible even doesn't even focus on so much on happiness, because I think happiness is almost like a more superficial feeling for something more deeper that I think Bible does talk about a lot more, and that is joy. Joy is that sort of deeper feeling. You can have joy even while crying, right? I know you can say happiness, tears, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, but people have been, like for example, we talk about people who have died for their faith under most cruelest of circumstances, being thrown into in the Roman world, the early church, people have been crucified, and then they were singing hymns on the cross, or as they were being torn apart by lions, being absolutely calm, and that is because they have deep sense of joy, or maybe peace, if you want to say, joy and peace being that kind of deeper rooted feelings that last for a longer period of time, that I think kind of Bible more sort of speaks of than happiness being more of a temporary product of circumstances and whatever it is. But I just one thing maybe just to leave with you before I continue, and that is you talk about kind of science and kind of pursuit of science. One thing, I don't know how much you know about this, but many of the kind of science, like let's say Isaac Newton, Niels Bohr, I believe as well, a couple of others who were both Christians, deeply committed Christians, and obviously on the cutting edge of science in their day. The thing that was in the back of their mind was this idea that if God created this world, and He's obviously intelligent God and a very sort of smart and a good designer of the world, then they said if that is true, then this world should be discoverable. In the sense, it should not be chaotic. There shouldn't be chaos behind this world, but it should be discoverable, because someone who orders this world and who makes it in a way that is as stable as we can see, and all that, we can see the motion of the stars. It's pretty regular. We can see the effects of the forces like gravity and other sort of forces that are constant, right? they're saying if the world is the way it is and if it was created by God, it should be discoverable. And so they set out to discover exactly the kind of what is behind the force of gravity, what is behind the preservation of the heat and other sort of forces, and electric force and weak nuclear force and other things, right? They're saying if God wasn't behind it and it was just purely a chance or result of chance over time, you wouldn't expect as much order, you wouldn't expect as much just almost like it appears like it's been selected for this world, right? If this, even like they often say, if the force of gravity was the constant behind the force of gravitational constant was off even by 1 to the 10th minus 23 power, this universe wouldn't exist. Or if the weak nuclear force was the mass of the electrons or whatever it is was just off by an infinitesimal amount, this universe would not exist.
Yeah.
And so they said, look, if that's our premise, if that's our starting point, we should be able to look at the world and we should discover what runs it based on that premise, right? So I think that's a very interesting, idea to this sense that mathematics and physics and everything that kind of we see drives this world. Yes, we can explain how it happens, but why is it that it happens like that? Who created it to be like that? And the fact that we now believe as a scientist, universe had a beginning, Big Bang. Who started it? How did it start? Who made the move? Who pushed the explosion? Who made it go bang? The philosophical argument goes very famously. Everything that exists has a beginning. Universe begin to exist. Universe exists. Universe begin. Therefore, has a beginning. What caused it? What caused it? What is the primary cause behind it? And I know science is in the pursuit. They have other theories. There's multiverse theory. There's the cyclical theory. And there's the studies, right? But
it's still going. Yeah.
It's
and maybe we wouldn't even discover it. Maybe not. Maybe yes. We don't know. What's
exactly.
going to happen.
These are wonderful things. I'm quite interested in those things, and I think we should apply science to those questions. But at the same time, I think the answer of intelligence behind it, I think the more we know about the universe, I think that answer becomes more and more viable, I would say, from what we know, from what we study of the universe, from what we are, even our DNA, the fact that it feels like, Bill Gates said, DNA is more is one of the most complicated codes ever written. It feels like code, it's information, it's interpreted like code. Anyway, don't want to ramble too much, but I think the question is, are we going to be prepared? Are we open to the answer of there being an intelligence or God behind it all? Once we're done with our science, once we are pursuing everything else, and I'm saying, look, if you're not prepared for that to be the answer, then maybe you're not as open to truth as you would wish to be, because there are some people who are saying, look, science is the answer and it's the only answer. There cannot be any other answers, right? But a more open person would say, look, I'll apply scientific process to this because I think it's valid, it's testable, and whatever the answer is, I'll accept it because that is the truth, right? And I think, to me, that's a much more kind of position that is open to sort of accepting truth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The main thing is being open.
Yeah.
It's not about thinking one thing is right and one is wrong. It's how I tell you, it's not everything black and white.
Yeah.
You'd have to be open because it could be something in the middle.
Yeah.
It could be not even one thing and not the other. It could be something in between them. So
It could be. Yeah.
As human beings, we have to be open. I think, for what I think, we need to be open to everything.
Yeah. All right. On that note, thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope I didn't.
No, I always enjoy having
you or,
no, absolutely not. I
yeah.
always enjoy having those talks, especially when you find people that are open on the other side and don't judge you right away. And I always enjoy talking even with people that don't really think the way I think, because it's just a matter of discussion. It's discovery.
Good respect. We can exchange opinions and learn from one another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's great. I always enjoy talking especially like about religion and everything.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. Well, thank you so much again for your time.